Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that has sparked countless questions and debates. What does the Bible actually say about self-pleasure? This isn't a straightforward question, nor is it just about defining right and wrong. Instead, it's about understanding how we can approach the role of pleasure in our lives through a biblical perspective. We'll unpack insights into God's intentions, human desire, and what it truly means to find joy that aligns with a higher purpose. You might find some surprising answers here, so stay tuned as we explore this deeply meaningful and often misunderstood subject. The Bible's view on pleasure and self-control. Throughout history, one of the biggest questions Christians have faced is where the line exists between God-given pleasure and self-centered gratification. This is an important distinction because how we approach pleasure influences our lives, our motivations, and our spiritual health. While the Bible doesn't always offer a direct answer, it does provide guidance that can help us understand the purpose behind pleasure and self-discipline. At its core, the Bible suggests that God designed pleasure as a gift for humans to enjoy, but also within the boundaries of His purpose and wisdom. By delving into Scripture, we can uncover why God created us with the ability to experience pleasure and how He intended us to use this gift. God's design of pleasure. One of the most important aspects to recognize is that God created pleasure. Every sensation of satisfaction we feel, whether from eating, resting, or connecting with others, is part of an intricate system He designed specifically for us. In Genesis 2-7, we learn that God breathed life into us, creating humans as spiritual beings with a unique purpose. This divine breath gives us a capacity for reason, choice, and connection with God that other creatures don't have. Animals, for example, act purely on instinct, carrying out behaviors without any moral consideration. A lion doesn't wonder if hunting is ethical, and a bird doesn't question its migration path. Humans, however, possess a consciousness that allows us to think beyond basic needs. We have the ability to fast, sacrificing the temporary satisfaction of food for spiritual discipline, or to sacrifice comfort for a purpose beyond ourselves. This capacity for choice and free will means we aren't just experiencing pleasure for survival. We're able to seek a deeper meaning and a relationship with God. Flesh versus spirit, the inner battle. The Bible speaks to an internal struggle between the flesh and the spirit. Romans 8:12-13 reminds us not to live solely according to the flesh, which seeks immediate pleasure without thinking about long-term consequences. This difference can be understood in simple terms. While the flesh says, "I want this now," the spirit asks, "Is this truly beneficial?" The flesh operates on a mentality of more is better, always craving more food, comfort, or possessions without being satisfied. This drive can create a cycle of never-ending desire, where nothing truly fills us. The Spirit, in contrast, encourages us to think about the purpose and meaning of our actions, seeking quality and depth over quantity. This means that the Spirit values self-control and sees it as a path to greater fulfillment, one that isn't based on momentary pleasures, but on a deeper satisfaction. The Prodigal Son, a lesson in self-gratification. A powerful example of this principle is found in the parable of the prodigal son, in Luke 15. The prodigal son took his inheritance, seeking a life of unrestricted pleasure without boundaries. For a while, he experienced every kind of indulgence he could imagine, but ultimately, it left him empty. When he exhausted his resources, he found himself craving even the food of pigs. realizing that he had nothing lasting or meaningful. This story illustrates the Bible's message about unrestrained pleasure. It's not that pleasure itself is wrong, but when pursued without wisdom or boundaries, it leads to emptiness. The lesson here is that true fulfillment isn't found in doing whatever we want, but in understanding that happiness comes from aligning our desires with something higher. Understanding happiness versus joy. It's essential to understand the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is often situational and dependent on external factors. We feel happy when things are going well or when we're doing something enjoyable. However, joy is a deeper sense of contentment rooted in our relationship with God. This joy can be present even in difficult situations. The Apostle Paul speaks about this in Philippians 4:11-13, explaining that he has learned to be content in all circumstances. This type of joy doesn't come from pursuing endless pleasures, but from aligning our lives with God's purpose. When our desires align with God's plan, we experience a satisfaction that momentary pleasures can't provide. Finding balance in daily life. So how do we apply this understanding in our daily lives? Practically, it means shifting our perspective. Instead of always asking, "What do I want?" we can ask, "What would bring me closer to God?" This simple change in thinking can transform the way we approach everything, from our meals to our achievements. When we live in a way that reflects God's purpose, we experience a unique sense of freedom, a freedom from guilt, from shame, and from the consequences of overindulgence, God's boundaries for our well-being. All legitimate pleasures are gifts from God, designed for us to enjoy within the right boundaries. These boundaries are not restrictions meant to take away our joy. Rather, they are safeguards to ensure that we don't seek satisfaction in temporary, fleeting pleasures. We are encouraged to enjoy food, rest, and relationships, but in a way that respects God's intentions. It's important to remember that God isn't against pleasure. He created it for us to experience fully, but He also provided guidelines to help us avoid the emptiness that comes from chasing temporary satisfactions. Instead of eliminating our desires, the Bible encourages us to direct them properly. Self-control as a pathway to greater joy. Many people assume that self-control means giving up joy, but the opposite is often true. Practicing self-control helps us enjoy God's gifts more deeply, free from the negative consequences that come with excess. Self-control doesn't mean a lack of pleasure. It means appreciating it more by respecting its purpose. By trusting God to supply our needs, we can find joy in His gifts without the burden of constantly seeking more. The true purpose of pleasure. The Bible teaches that pleasure is not inherently sinful. God made us to enjoy life, but He also calls us to seek wisdom and understanding. By embracing the difference between flesh-driven gratification and spirit-led fulfillment, we can find a joy that is both meaningful and lasting. Thank you for watching and reflecting with us today. If you found value in this discussion, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. Let's continue to grow together as we explore more topics that bring purpose, clarity, and joy to our lives. Until next time, remember that true joy often comes from looking beyond ourselves and aligning our desires with a purpose greater than our own. See you in the next video.